This is a video to Richard Grannon's video, Does Psychotherapy Use Law of Attraction Type Beliefs? I thought it was useful to do a response because in my line of work, I'm an energy worker. I do deal with a lot of people who've been in toxic relationships or are currently in a toxic relationship, and it's really hindering them from being on their soul mission or their life purpose. So I thought I'd just take some time to try to answer each of the questions that you posed and see where that takes us. So the first question you asked was, is there something slightly mystical about the psychotherapeutic worldview? Yes, I do feel there is, because psychotherapy is trying to use more understandable words for people to understand what is literally the superego, or in mystical spiritual terms, the higher self, the spiritual self, which is the detached observer, then the conscious mind, the ego, and then the id, the unconscious, right? And in the spiritual world, we might call the unconscious that database of knowledge and experience, information and energy that we've all experienced through many, many lifetimes. And yeah, so do I think there is something mystical about the psychotherapeutic worldview? Yeah, I do think that psychotherapists are trying to find easier ways to explain mystical experiences. Second question, do I believe that we co-create or attract toxic people or narcissists into our life who basically mirror the wounds that we haven't ourselves healed from childhood, the wounds that our parents installed in us? Or do I believe that things are just happening randomly? So yes, based on the experience I've had in my business and also in my own life, recovering from narcissistic abuse, I do feel that we are existing on a world where we have experiences, and then anything unresolved that we experience in those life situations, we attempt to find resolution, or we attempt to find balance, rather than things happening randomly. Because the example that you used, where you felt magnetically attracted, or you had the very strong impulse to go and connect with your ex, both myself and previous customers have had a very similar experience. So, and your second question to that was, if that is so, how are we attracting people into our life? Now, just to give the proviso, we're not consciously attracting these people into our life. I would say this is more of an energetic, magnetic drawing of two people, yes, who do have similar wounds, but these wounds are being expressed on opposite ends of a spectrum, like magnets, like magnets. So yes, it is an attraction that is going on there. It's one of the spiritual laws. But I would just look at this in a slightly different way, rather than look at this as whether we are co-creating this, albeit on an unconscious level, or whether things are happening randomly. I would rather pose the question, for what purpose is this spiritual law just simply happening? And I believe that it's happening for our benefit, to resolve the inner conflict that we have. And that's why we keep picking people who have a similar wound to us, but are on the opposite end of the spectrum. So if we're going to take the narcissistic, the relationship with the narcissist. So the narcissist is extremely self-serving. The codependent is extremely self-sacrificing, but both have the same core wound of unlovability, unworthiness. But they're expressing it at different ends of the spectrum. Hence, they're attracted to each other because both are expressing an extreme character trait. And so, like magnets, they try to come together to balance this out, to integrate it through the other person. So in that sense, both have something to teach each other, a character trait. Perhaps the codependent needs to be more self-interested, stand up for themselves, and have healthy energetic boundaries, whereas the narcissist needs to take into consideration other people, other people's needs. And in the process, in that energetic exchange, that melting pot, the hope is to resolve that inner conflict through the other and then completely come out of the polarity game altogether to create something, a third energy, the energy of integration, of wholeness. Now, when I do energetic work with people and we are energetically, somatically processing this through the whole energy body, I'm just facilitating. I'm not doing anything to other people, but I'm facilitating people to be able to do this within themselves. What happens is the tension, the energetic tension that is created within that person's energy body is released. And so that attraction to the other dissipates. And there is nothing to be interested in, to be attracted in. So that tension that would normally arise from the polarity, from the attraction, would simply be dissipated. And then we get to a higher level of consciousness, understanding, or observation of what has happened. But there's no tension, unresolved energy stuck in the energy body that would mean that we would still be attracted to that person. So what I'm saying is, rather than look at whether this is true or not, because I don't believe we are yet at the level of consciousness to be able to explain that scientifically, I would say the law of attraction can be used as a mechanism to resolve those inner conflicts, those inner introjects, as you call them. So yes, we are, in a way, walking psychics. We're walking energy balls that have imbalances, that have distortions, that are trying to be resolved. And so we seek the other on an unconscious level to try and resolve this. So hopefully that explains the other question, which was how are we attracting them or how are we doing this? So in my line of business, what I've found is I've had narcissists approach me and of course regular customers, and both seem to have a very deep ingrained energetic patterns, very, very, very dark levels, both on similar depth and intensity of negativity, but similar core wound beliefs. So rather than try to understand intellectually or even attempt to try to understand on a conscious mind level something that is happening on a very, very deep, complicated, multidimensional level, unconscious level, rather to focus on processing the energetic distortion that's happening within. So I've also been on my journey for about 15 years, and I similarly had these questions, and psychotherapy was absolutely helpful, and I still recommend that to people. However, I didn't find that it gave me a full understanding of these mechanisms that are going on within and between people on an intellectual level. So it was only when I started doing body work, energetic work, somatic work, and I was resolving the inner conflict between my parents interject and my inner wounded child, that I would experience those energetic releases to the attachment to the core wound belief that I had about myself. I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, etc. And so the tension behind the core wound belief was just dissipated. So what is the narcissist doing? They're simply triggering your unresolved core wounds, any negative tension that still hasn't been expelled or processed, for deeper processing. And unfortunately, we can only do so much on the conscious mind level. We really have to work energetically, somatically through the body, which is the container of the unconscious. So I hope that resolves most of your questions. Oh yeah, there was another question you asked. If this is indeed happening, if we're all unconsciously playing out, attracting and triggering each other's core wound beliefs on a collective level or national level, yes, of course, we will be creating policies on a national level, on a global level, that feeds into our core wound belief of survivalism, of trying to protect our own territory or attacking others so we can have more if we don't feel we have enough. I would look at a really great YouTube video by, it's a recording of Gabor Mate, called Aces to Assets, Dr. Gabor Mate in Scotland, where Scotland's unique opportunity to tackle trauma, where they're already finding ways to try and heal the collective unconscious trauma and find an ACEs perspective on dealing with long-standing issues. So this is a great opportunity to start to heal the collective unconscious and intergenerational trauma, which epigenetics has already shown does get passed down. So I hope this answers some of those questions, but if not, you know where to find me on my channel. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.